greetings, the people of Give It to Azania Kasi podcast. My name is Vich. I will be your host today. I will be driving this episode with you. Today I've got guest, and then he's just a student of University of Limpopo. He's from Venda.
Yes.
Yeah, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
My name is TUMELO Malebane. I am from Venda, just as you had said, a small Lanyana village, just outside of the town, some 100 kilometers away from Bolokwane, called Lois Trichat. The place that I'm from is not necessarily interesting per se. It's like Gizima Mtindan at that side. Yeah, sort of similar to that. Yeah, there's not much to tell about the place.
Yeah, but I heard that the soil is very fertile. What's happening with the veggies and the fruits there?
Well, Venda is a very vast place. I think when some people mention Venda, they tend to think of one place, but it's a very large landscape, and the climate there, it varies from place to place. There are places, just as you have said, where there's a tea plantation somewhere in Venda. We have avocado groves growing in Venda. So the land is very fertile, considering it's a mountainous region.
Yeah, so how was it to grow up in Venda?
Growing up in
the memories you might remember from young age when you were growing up.
Growing up in Venda has been a very interesting journey up until this point. Like I said, there's not really much to tell, but it's been interesting. The people I met there who have shaped who I am currently, it's been. Okay,
which course are you studying here at University of Limpopo?
Currently, I'm studying a bachelor's in social work.
Yeah. How is it? How is it?
How is it? What do you mean?
I mean, like, how interesting it is. Like, sometimes people just study courses and then they don't find it interesting, and then after when they graduated, they migrate to another course, Yes.
Social work is difficult, interesting but difficult. During the first years, you start by studying the histories of social work, how it got here, how it developed here.
Sure.
You understand? Then as you move on, you get to learn theories, lots and lots of theories. It's more theory than it is practical, hence a lot of people might say it's difficult.
Sure.
It has a lot of reading, but I believe it should not have a lot of reading. We should do more practical than we should the reading part. But
so
then again, that's what I believe.
What has inspired you to study social science?
A greater power. In this instance, I would like to believe God. Jesus Christ called me to study social work. Due to the experiences that I have had growing up, I feel like He called me to this path for a reason.
Sure. Then you find it interesting, then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Then what is it like? What are the career path that you will take when you persuaded your course?
It's social work on its own. It's big. You can work in the military, you can work in hospitals, you can work in various places. You can be stationed to work in countries that are not doing well economically. You can go work that side. You can work in the police force. I've met social workers who work in the police force. But I myself personally have not really decided what I would like to do after. I'm more interested in agriculture than I am in social work, although, I love social work, but agriculture just, it has my heart.
Yeah, so then now, since you are saying you are from Venda, what can you say about, what is your thought on MacG? Because the guy is putting the Venda flag high.
MacG.
Yeah.
MacGyver. Okay. I don't really watch his show per se.
Yeah.
But what I can say from the snippets and the one episode in particular that I watched featuring Dr. John Kani was my favorite.
Yeah.
he's fearless.
Yeah.
You get. He's not afraid of being perceived as politically incorrect. You understand? And he asks the burning question that us as the viewers would like to know about that particular person. So he's not afraid of offending the guests themselves. You understand?
Sure.
And that's a very brave thing. You understand? In a world where people are being told to be politically correct, not to say this, not to say that, MacGyver just goes the opposite direction.
Sure. Then, but are you happy with how, like now you are saying you are not watching his podcast, you are not a fan. So what is it that makes you not to follow it like regularly?
I remember during my first year, if not my second year, a few friends of mine convinced me to watch it.
Yeah.
I got involved into watching that, and then came that episode where two naked people were brought onto the show. So it's inappropriate and vulgar. It's not to my taste.
Yeah.
It's not tailored to my taste.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to stay away from it altogether. Although I admire him and his character.
Sure. Then what do you think? What is your thought about Shebeshkt, and then what can you say on his recovering process?
I wish him a speedy recovery. That's
Yeah.
the first thing that I'm gonna say. You understand? I hope he comes out of the dark place he has fallen into.
Yeah.
It's I have never really suffered a loss as great as his, so I can't really relate to what he's going through.
Yeah.
But I understand that losing a daughter, partially due to a part you played in it, it plays very badly on the mind. Like, it affects the mind badly.
Sure.
So I would like to wish him a speedy recovery. But what I think about his career, Shebeshkt is by far the biggest underdog Limpopo has ever produced.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
He's an original man. He is not afraid of who he is, where he's from, how he got to where he is. I mean, he tells us his prison stories. You understand? Back then, when he used to be a vagabond, he tells us stories from those times. Like, he doesn't shy away from that.
Sure.
And it's something that young people look up to, an original.
Yeah.
You get, so they can, those who are struggling with an identity, sort of relate to what he has to say. But I don't believe it's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
You understand? He's also, again, he's a volatile character.
Yeah.
He's unstable.
Sure. So, but what can you say to the media houses or radio stations that do not play his music, but when he got to this accident, they were the first people to disseminate that information? What can you say about, because they don't play his music, they don't follow his stories, but only when something bad happens, it's when they are reporting about the issue.
Well, the media. Okay. Let's not ignore the fact that the media has a right to follow any story that's happening in the country.
Sure.
They have that right.
Sure.
You understand?
Sure.
But they lack the ability to exercise humane and respectful boundaries. You understand? The man lost a kid, and that's when they decided to report on the matter. But when he came out of prison and he was headlining everywhere, every other weekend, I mean, Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be Shebeshkt all over.
Sure.
They didn't follow up on that story.
Sure.
That a man came out of prison and he's trying to rebuild himself. As a matter, I believe he's the one that sent himself to prison.
Yeah,
Took himself to prison.
Not really.
They arrested him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, there were some allegations, but then now it's cleared. That means they failed to prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, those are things you should be reporting on. That a man was falsely accused. He did not sue the government. He just went on with his life and made himself the man that he is now.
Sure. Yeah. That's true, because they just look at those stories that are negative only, but they don't report about the positive ones about him.
No.
So, as a young person, what do you think about the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, from when he started? He started leading the ANC Youth League when he was still young.
Yeah.
Now he started a political party
of his own.
Yeah, and then now he's 11th years.
Yeah, this is the 11th year, right?
Yeah. They are going to celebrate their anniversary very soon.
Well, Julius Malema is a revolutionary of some sort.
Yeah.
He has his own dodgy dealings, but there is no man without a shadow.
Sure.
You understand?
Sure.
We all have our own shadows. But his political identity is true. Like, he does not sugarcoat the truth. You understand? It does not sway from this party to this, or from this person to this person. If he says we are supporting the DA, he gives the reason why they're supporting the DA, even if politically speaking they may differ. You get? And one thing that I have noticed, maybe it could be true or untrue, you understand, but the thing that I've noticed about Julius Malema is that he has autocratic tendencies about him, and I admire autocracy. You get? The autocracy, which means the government of one. So the government of one is necessary. Look at places such as Cuba, look at the People's Republic of China, look at Russia. Those are places where it's an autocracy. The citizens are able to exercise one form of democracy or another. You understand? But at the end of the day, one leader has one political ideology that the whole country has to go by, which is necessary. Because if we look at the democracy that we have in South Africa, 4 years is too little a time for somebody to say, I have a policy that I would like to implement. You understand? Because while they're still looking for the resources and whatnot, and we're still setting up committees and whatnot, the 4 years is up.
It's up.
You get? And then we're going back to elections. We look at what you did. We're like, you said you're doing this project, but it's not done. And then they choose another political organization. Kanjalo. You get?
So then now, since I hear that you are politically sound, you are informed, So what makes young people to not be interested in politics? What do you think could be the reason?
Greed and political loyalism and cadre culture. These are the three
Can
things.
you expand with one perspective from that?
Okay. Greed, ne? The parliament is full of old people. People who fall asleep while debates are going on. You understand? They don't want to let go of power.
And those is against that.
He's totally against that. As a matter, I'm thinking of him right now when you know that video where he was cussing out the minister for sleeping. They don't want to let go. I mean, Naledi Pandor, in as much as I look up to her for what she did for Palestine, the woman has feet. I don't mean to make fun of her condition, but then she has a medical condition that prohibits her from walking properly. But they're flying her all the way to Palestine or to the ICJ. What for? You get? Like they must allow young people to come into the political sphere and show what they can do. You understand? But
now Naledi Pandor she's no longer a minister. She said, no, I'm fine, I'm retiring. She has not been deployed anywhere.
That's yes, I do remember reading an article on that. But I was just using as an example to show that even though she says I have had enough, and Jimutsa is now the minister of defense. I don't think she knows how to pull a trigger, that woman. As much as I can tell, I don't think she can pull a trigger. But then yes, she is a whole minister of defense.
So what can you say about in Venda there are some customary or there are some culture practices that the Western will look as things that are oppressing women, let me give you an example about the issue of when they are greeting. The lady, when greets the guy or the man, he must lay.
She must lay on her side. Yes.
So what can you say about such cultures? Do you still think they're still appropriate? Should we keep on? Should we preserve them, or should we just let them go?
So, in the fashion, you're asking me if the Venda culture somehow, some way oppresses women.
Not specifically about. I'm just saying, in general, in Zulus they would say, you can't cross talk. You are man. If you are a woman, you must listen to him until he finishes speaking. Then is when you will respond. But the globalization says we are all equal. We must listen to to one another. But in our cultures, a man must speak first, and then as a woman, you must either obey or you don't say anything at some point.
Well, to answer your question, culture varies. You understand? And as much as I am a cultural person, I value culture and tradition. I am also a modern man who must move with the times. But on a personal level, to answer your question, it's a bit of a yes or no type
Sure.
of situation.
Sure.
Because you understand, you have a personal culture of your own.
Yeah, no, I'm a paid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, on a personal level, you have your
Oh,
own culture.
sure.
Like, let me give you an example.
What I believe in.
What you believe in and the kind of practices that you do. For an example, there's something that you do when you open the door to your room and you enter into your room.
Yeah.
That if you don't do it, somehow you don't feel okay.
Yeah.
That's your culture.
Sure.
A family has a culture, ne? That, for an example, you don't enter into the house unless unless you take off your shoes. That's
even
a
the
culture.
cap, even the cap.
Yeah. That's culture. You understand? Neighbors have a culture of their own. Neighborhoods have a culture of their own, and communities have a culture of their own. And all these things could be variants of something greater which unites them all, which could be the identity with the tribal identity
Sure.
that they subscribe to. You get. So to answer your question, yes and no. There are no communities and there are no cultures that are actively oppressing women.
Sure.
You get.
Sure.
It's just situations do come about wherein you find that the individuals are not inclined to respecting women as part of their culture. You understand? You find that there are families that value the men more than they do the girls. That value, you find that they say, no, the boys must not cook, the girls must do the cooking.
Sure.
But cooking is a life skill. It's a basic human life skill that you must learn.
Sure.
You get. And so when we put those things against the modern times, and we say, if you say a guy should not cook, what's going to happen when it comes to university?
Sure.
I know guys who can't even cook rice here at varsity because of culture. You get. So, but I don't think there's a culture that's actively oppressing women out there.
Okay, because some guys, you will find someone has never, when you go to his room, he didn't do his bedding, it's a mess around, just because of, at some point they said no, he must not do the cleanings.
Those are womanly duties that women must do. You understand? So it's in a way it's stupid, yes, when you think about it. This person is going to go to varsity. They're going to be there for 4 years. What are they going to eat for 4 years? You understand? So culturally speaking, there are certain cultures that don't teach independence. You understand? They actually teach dependency on the woman. Wherein the sisters are the ones who must do the cleaning. The mothers the one who must wake up and do the laundry for the whole house. You don't teach a child how to wash their own clothes. But then when they finish their grade 12, you're gonna say, no, my son has done me proud, is going to go to varsity. Then what then?
A mess. Just send a mess here. So what do you think about, what is your thought around the issue of initiation schools? Like recently we and then I must applaud these people who are administering that thing, because we didn't have any tragic, or we didn't have any death this year.
Well, in Venda, I believe one death was reported. It's an unfortunate incident. But I would like to differ with you there. I don't commend them. Because
so now since you said you are cultural centered or orientated person, then are you of the view that we must cancel these initiations?
Cancel is a big word. Review is the word that I would go with. You understand? We must rethink and relook this thing, because I think somewhere along the lines between colonization and apartheid and post-apartheid South Africa, the Koma lost its purpose. You understand? The things that we discussed more coming before colonization and during apartheid and now, they are not the same. Because when you look at the results of somebody who went to Koma, when you look at them, when they come back, they're usually drunks, they usually smoke, they are womanizers, they are incels, they don't respect women or people in general. You understand? And then we look at, okay, personally, I did not go to Koma, right? My grandmother is a modern woman. She didn't even try sending me there. What is it that a person who went to Koma can do that I cannot? Because I think I respect my girlfriend more than somebody who went up there. You get? Because I'm a peer educator, ne?
Yeah.
I distribute condoms between the rest.
Sure.
So sometimes you find these guys around the Kapo Junior so you would find them by Ujiba Bulela together, and then you're like, you listen to the conversation, you grab parts of the conversation, you hear them discussing Koma, and then from Koma they move on to women and whatnot, and you find, and then you're like, no, these people speak the same language, which means they probably went to Koma around the same time or together, or they've all been there. You understand? But then they're all saying the same thing, which is usually to degrade women and treat women like objects of their own pleasure. And I don't think I would even send my own children there to begin with. No.
Why? Because the follow-up question was to ask you about would you take your kids there?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
Because I think I myself as a Christian would teach them better values than what they would learn on a mountain. And besides, it's traumatic. Imagine 3 weeks you're not wearing anything other than a blanket, and it's cold there, you're in pain. I don't think it's subhuman in a way, if I would like to put it that way. It's subhuman.
So then, since you are saying you're a peer counselor or
educator
or peer educator at health center. Yeah. So now, can you tell me about LGBTQ? Your understanding about it? I think you sometimes meet them there, the community.
Yes, I some of them are my colleagues.
Yeah.
We work with a few of them.
Sure.
On a personal level, I don't have a problem with who sleeps with who.
Yeah.
That's not my concern.
Sure.
As a matter of the Bible goes on to tell us to mind our own business.
Sure.
And keep to ourselves. So who sleeps with who, or woni mushimang mang, or woni mang mushimana peres keta chorumung yamang, that's not your business.
Sure.
You get. My problem now then becomes issues such as their constant outcry of victimization. You understand? They treat it as an objective truth, but it's a subjective reality.
Sure.
Because I don't have a problem with them. You understand? You probably, I'm not sure if you have a problem.
And I don't have a problem with them as long as they would understand that I'm straight, and I don't have a problem at all with them. I love them, and then we engage them every time. But I'm just having the problem with those who will force. Understand? For me to get their culture and understanding, but they don't want to listen to my view.
That's why I say it's not. They treat it as an objective reality, but it's rather subjective, because it's not everybody who is treating them. There is no need for them to come out and say, if you remember the incident that happened at R40 where we met. My description of what happened there is that it was a vain, narcissistic exercise of fascism. You understand? Fascism is it's the opposite of an autocracy. Fascism is a democracy. It's a governance by one with the oppression of differing views. You understand? Wherein, if you differ with what I am saying, we are going to destroy you. You get me? Perfect example, Germany. And Italy for some time they practice fascism. In Germany, the churches, they had pictures of Hitler and the swastika. The schools had pictures of Hitler and the swastika. Every institution had to have that. If they did not, it would become a problem.
You are against it.
You are against it. So it's the same here. If you can remember, I tried making a point. I didn't make it. I tried to make a point. Before I could even finish the point, I was cut off. That's fascism. It's an oppression of. They
don't care about how you view them. They don't care about where you come from, how you see them. They want to, how can I put it? They just want to force it down our throats.
Especially because considering the panel was consisted of doctor. You understand? I think that also gave them some sort of superiority complex already, since we are doctors and they are not. What we have to say, they have to believe, because we are more learned than them. But we understand the Constitution. The Constitution says that I have the freedom of expression, choice and speech. You understand? All of which were being oppressed there at R40 at the time.
I don't think it was oppressed. It's just that sometimes when they make this kind of programs, they don't give us an ample time enough to engage. They just want us to ask you know, when we engage too much with panels, engage too much, but when it comes to us, the audience, we just get a little time to engage them.
Exactly.
I don't think it's about the issue of saying we were not given time.
Yeah, we were not given enough time.
Yeah,
and
that is the only thing.
live or not, they were being disruptive by themselves.
Yeah.
But then again, like I said, I don't really have a problem with who sleeps with who.
Yeah.
That's your personal issue. And
Sure.
even if whatever health risks are involved there, if you think you can handle it, go ahead.
So what does the culture and the Christian says about, from your views?
Christian culture is accepting of these people.
Yeah.
I can't. But Christendom is a very large domain.
Sure.
You get, it's a very large thing. What the Bible says is not necessarily what the church does.
Yeah.
You
True,
get
true,
exactly.
true.
The Bible is very clear, right, on where it stands on the matter.
Sure.
I don't know if I can say it here, but I would prefer not to say it here.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But the Bible is very clear. But you'll find that now we even have gay pastors.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah.
We have gay people serving in the worship team. We have lesbians who are pastors. That was not a thing in the Bible before that.
Sure.
You understand? So it's a thing that where people are forging their own path using the Bible, and it's not necessarily correct. It's not
Sure.
good as
Sure.
a matter of.
Sure.
It goes counter to what the Word of God says, and yeah.
So that means the Bible's the Christianity the culture now doesn't. Where does it put us there as Africans?
The Bible understands that when we are born, we are not born perfect. That's why it calls on us to repent from our sin.
Sure.
You get, and be born again. Do you understand?
Sure.
And to be born again in Christ, under one baptism, under one Father,
Sure.
who is Jesus Christ in heaven. You get. So if you are born and you say, the way that I was born is this way, Christ says, come to me, repent and be born yet again.
Sure.
You get.
Sure.
So you get a new identity, you get a new image, you get to lead a new life in Him who is our Savior, Jesus
Sure.
Christ. You get. Culturally speaking, I can't really, but what I understand is gay people have always been a part of who we are.
Sure.
Like they've been a part of society for a very long time.
Sure.
Although they might not necessarily have been called gay people before.
Yeah.
You look at civilizations such as the Romans, such as Macedonians. You look at the Greeks. They actually encouraged homosexuality within the armies. Their armies. Because it was called building a brotherhood. If you and I were serving in the army during Greek, Roman, and Macedonian times, you and I could become partners in a way, as a means of, if we are going to battle, I would have your back, you would have mine, because we have this intimate relationship
Sure.
between ourselves.
Sure.
So it's been a part of humanity or society. You understand?
Sure.
But again, Christianity is different. You understand? And it has its own ideas and ideations and its own belief. I don't know how to put it. Really.
Yeah. No problem.
You understand? It's
Sure.
got its own different thing compared to what people want.
How best can we fix our educational system as a country? Do you see flops in our system? Do you see a progress? How best can we deal with it? Because you get to be in school for almost 13 years or 12 years, and then after that you can't do anything. You still have to go to varsity to.
So, what are we talking about? The public or the private educational system?
Let's speak in general, because majority of them, even in private, they don't have a system where they can learn lots of things, like the practical things. That is what I'm trying to say. Because after the graduating from high school, you can't do anything. You can't assemble the phone, you can't assemble the car, you can't do anything. You can't make, there is a subject in school about agriculture, but immediately after, when you graduated from high school, you can't do a farming.
The educational system needs to be scrapped.
Yeah.
the mistake happened in 1994 when they said that white schools can exist on their own and black schools can exist on their own.
Sure.
That's where the problem first began. You get.
Sure.
And then black people were given their own curriculum and white schools had their own curriculum.
Sure.
That's where the problem began. So to fix it all, we have to scrap it all together. I will come to the 1 year agriculture, the one you mentioned.
Sure.
We'll come to it. But we have to scrap it all together and look at where is the world heading. You understand? The world is heading to the fourth industrial revolution.
Sure.
So I believe that if we start now and we scrap everything, we say no more LO, no more EMS, no more this, we ask ourselves the question, as a country,
Sure.
what is it that we can teach our young people from grade R until grade 12?
Sure.
Which could help them participate fully, even without a varsity qualification, to be able to participate.
Self a question, because this one's from private. They're having an upper hand because they're getting the result first before us.
No, that's actually that's a privilege.
Yeah.
You understand? But what I can tell you is the NCS, as you put it. Yeah. The NCS, a person who's doing NCS has an APS of 42.
Sure.
A person who is doing the IBE, or is it the IEB?
Yeah.
Has an APS of 56.
Sure.
That's a difference of 40.
Ooh.
That's a difference of 40.
Sure.
In APS scores.
And then what I've noticed as well is that they will put the Bible studies, the music
in private schools.
Yeah.
So they stimulate the children's mind by bringing them, things that they can do to keep them occupied. But as black kids go to black schools, you get there from 7:30 until 2:30.
Sure.
You are in class.
Yeah.
Double period maths, double period LO, double period nging. There is nothing stimulating that you do throughout the day.
Sure.
You can't. And when it comes to subject choices are not exactly flexible.
Sure.
Most are usually stuck with either one or four options.
Sure.
You get
science,
accounting. Agriculture, accounting, and history.
Yeah.
Those are the four ones that we have. But in private schools, they can choose up to 8 subjects, if I'm not mistaken. They are spoiled of choices, and that's why the success rate of private school kids in university as compared to public school kids, they differ. It begins first with the fact that a child who went to a private school has the chance to attain an APS of 56, compared to a child who went to a black school who has only the chance to attain an APS of 42, because LO, which is still being done in grade 12, it does not add to your APS score.
Sure. But they allow the biblical studies, your music studies, art and whatnot at private school. They don't take them out when they are counting as APS.
They do not. But when you're in a public school, I don't know, we don't count LO, because you don't write an LO exam during term 4. We don't count it there. You get.
Yeah,
so what's the point of studying a subject that's not going to help me get into university?
Sure. So now let's speak about the issue of pornography. Pornography. Sometimes we just feel I just touch it about pornography. We shouldn't speak about it and whatnot. So what do you think about pornography? Do you think it's a good industry for our country and culture?
No.
Expand on that.
Pornography directly contributes to human trafficking and the drug industry.
Sure.
Directly.
Sure.
Do you think a normal person, sober minded, can sleep with about 10 people? But this thing called an orgy.
I know.
No. I don't think even there's any viewer would raise their hand and say, I can do that.
Sure.
You get. And I don't think there's any man who could have sex for about 2-3 hours without stopping.
Sure.
You get.
Sure.
They're using some stuff there to get these substances.
Yeah.
Right. Pornography is destructive.
Sure.
And you might not see it, but it's destructive.
Sure.
What it does to the mind is that it releases a certain hormone called dopamine, right? As you're watching the pornography and then you are playing with yourself, it releases this dopamine, right?
Yeah.
And dopamine is also like a drug.
Sure.
And the thing with drugs is that when you take, let me make an example with weed. I used to smoke weed.
Yeah, okay.
when you smoke a joint, when you're first starting, you can't even finish the joint. Halfway through, you are out like a lamb.
Sure.
As time goes on, you need one joint in order for you to be satisfied, and then it moves on from 2 to 3 to 4, and it gets to a point where you are like, no, bajai is some bad.
Sure.
You get when you watch pornography, it's the same thing, that dopamine is released, and then you are like, okay, this kind of pornography no longer entertains me. I must find something different in order to keep the dopamine levels coming. And when the real thing comes now, it's no longer entertaining, because now you're used to watching different things to get your dopamine level, and this person that you're with is just one person that you're with, you get, and they can't fulfill all of the fantasies. Let's not forget, pornography is a fantasy. What they're selling you there is a product which is unreal. They're selling you a fantasy, you get, and people who watch it tend to want to attain that fantasy. They look for a girl who can bend this way, girls look for a guy who has this kind of dick, you get, and it becomes an issue even in marriage, because these things are not communicated when we get married. To go to know, I like it when you as my wife, you wake me up with a blowjob. It's an example. You wake me up with a blowjob, and then you marry a poor Christian girl who's never even seen a boy naked before, and she can't do those things to you. You get, and now you begin mistreating her, and you begin cheating on the poor girl because why? You have uncommunicated expectations that were ascertained from watching pornography.
And then that means it also contributes in divorces, because you expect your person to be like that porn star there.
It contributes greatly to divorces.
And then you also want this girl with this size or this guy with this size.
Because, again, like I said, it's a fantasy. So every dude, every dude has a favorite porn star. You get, and I think,
and the category,
and the kind of category that they like. You're right on that part. The kind of category that they're into. So, they look for women who somewhat look like their favorite porn star. You get, and the ones who can perform these feats that they are used to seeing on TV. That's the only way. And one other thing that I'm forgetting to mention that the pornography does to you, it alters your brain chemistry. It alters it in this way. It can either drastically increase the way you how long you last during sex, or it can incredibly reduce it. It's one of two ways. You get, and a guy might think, so lasting longer is not an issue. The issue is this: you cannot ejaculate unless you're playing with yourself and watching a video. It can get to that point, to that very destructive point, that you can have sex with 3 people a day. You understand? You call this one in the morning, she comes, she gives you doggy. You call the other one, she gives you missionary. You call another one, she gives you sideways watuati. And all these styles, they don't satisfy you. You know what does? Going on to Pornhub, finding that category, that one porn star that you like, and then you play with yourself. That's when you come. Don't you think that's a very sad reality to get to, where Mosadi you have to pretend like Waruta, because you understand?
Because you are damaged.
You are damaged inside. Of the brain chemistry has been altered greatly.
Then what do you think about this attempt, assassination attempt on former president of US?
Donald Trump. That one,
you think was real? Let's start there. Do you think was real, or was just an acting there?
Okay, I have my doubts. Right? Although it is said that somebody died there, right? Now I have my doubts. Because you understand, I would like you to understand how I got there. Donald Trump is an intelligent man. He's not smart. He's intelligent. You know, Joe Biden is smart, but Donald Trump is intelligent. You understand, when we compare the two. I strongly believe that Donald Trump could have pulled off this move as a way of putting himself in positions with men, such as, there was a president in the United States called Theodore Roosevelt. He survived a lot of attempts on his life, that man. You get, he's actually seen as a hero of some sort by the people of the United States. And there's also Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln died, unfortunately, but he was on the way to, he was on the path that would eventually free black people from slavery, and he was killed for that. So I personally believe that he might have done that to put himself in the same statute as those guys. You get?
And then get the public sympathy.
Exactly.
Sure.
But then again, it could have happened that somebody who is a political overzealot decided that no, Donald Trump does not deserve to live because of 1, 2, 3 reasons. I don't understand much about American politics. You understand? And then they got on top of the roof and tried to shoot him. That could have also happened. So if that is the case, I think we must just beef up his security and try to be even more safer.
So what do you think about Unity of Africa?
The uniting Africa is imperative. Just as my president Julius Malema put it. It is very imperative and necessary that Africa must be united. Because if Africa does not unite economically, right, in terms of trade, in terms of currency, there's always going to be an issue of migration. You get? People are always going to be moving from one place to another, where it seems like there's a shining light there, they go there, and unfortunately they're going to when there's a small fire that's coming about and you throw a lot of wood on it, you're not actually doing the fire a favor, you're turning it out. You understand? You're taking it out. So until we integrate our economies, our currency, you understand, there's always going to be that issue. So we must begin first by stabilizing trade, ensuring that we don't have your trade tariffs or whatnot, and then we stabilize currency. You understand, when the currency, when we're all using the same currency as people in terms of trade, you understand, I no longer see it as important to come to South Africa to find work, because then again, it's not like I'm going to earn more here, because the value of our currency is what? It's the same. You get? And then after that has been done successfully, I think we could then look into not having borders at all, wherein we can allow the free flow of migration between places. So looking at the policies of the EFF, of Arise Mzansi, if I'm not mistaken, and the Patriotic Alliance, it's somewhat possible that we can get to that point. And then
what do you think about these people who are xenophobic?
Xenophobic people have a reason why they're xenophobic. They are looking at my country in South Africa. They are broke, they are hungry, and they're ill-governed. You understand? So they are also looking for somebody to blame in this situation. There has to be a reason why we are like this. And I'm not being xenophobic myself, but foreign nationals don't exactly make it easy to coexist with them. Just as we were speaking last week, there was a video of this dude who went on TikTok, if I'm not mistaken, and said, if you think we are suffering in South African prisons, you're wrong. We are. So they have an arrogance about them. You understand? And here we are dealing with the people who are angry themselves. So if you, who is not of this country, are arrogantly claiming to be benefiting from the government of this country more than the citizens of this country, obviously somebody's gonna say and it's gonna become an issue. You get?
So how do you come to a conclusion that guy was a foreign national?
The accent, first of all, from how I watched the video, and I think it did, if I remember correctly, it did state that he's not from South Africa, because remember he said, if you think we are suffering in South African prisons, you get? So it somewhat suggests that he is not from South Africa.
Original,
You understand? And then he was caught and he got in trouble for that. I saw the video 2 days later where they caught him.
But South Africa is summer. Now, immediately after what has happened, the prison warders has been going to this prisons, doing a search, intensive search and whatnot. And then now, so you must ask yourself if we should find someone first, and then the video must trend before they can do their work, because that means these people, they've been having cell phones, headsets, everything. So it must trend first before they can do their work.
It's very unfortunate that issues must first of all we must first of all grant about it before something is done. We must first of all be angry and say, Mara, why is this happening like this? Why is this going on like this? Before somebody can say, oh, okay, so I have to do this. You understand? I mean, it's the prison warders' jobs to conduct searches every once in a while. But then another issue that we have is, like I said before, we are a hungry, broke people. So the prison warders inside, they're not earning enough. as well as the police, as well as, you understand, and other public servants. They're not earning enough. So in order for those guys to keep the cell phones that they have, they pay those guys bribes. And then this dude is like, okay, even if you give me 50 rand, just for you to keep your phone, you say, no, since you saw me with my phone, here's a 50. I'm going home with the 50. I'm gonna buy my kids bread. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this at home, which I can't do with my meager salary that I get once a day. You get, because once that salary comes out, it's got stuff to do, and I have other responsibilities to take care of on the side. You get, so they're not remunerated properly. Hence, they are more susceptible to corruption.
Then, how best can we foster a reading culture in South Africa? Because I can hear that you are well read, you are well articulative, you are politically sound. How best can we foster this culture of reading books?
We must begin first by supporting upcoming authors. I'm interested in writing myself, right? I don't have any published work, but then every once in a while when I'm bored, I sit down on a PC and then I go about typing something out. And I tried, a friend of mine who is a published author also, his name is Junior Paladi. I'm sorry for using your platform to...
No, it's okay, as long as it's an African guy or African lady.
His name is Junior Paladi. He's in Bloemfontein. He has one book published. When he explained to me the process...
What was the title, if you know?
The first one that he published it before we met, so I never really got the chance to go into that. But then the one that he published now, I will look into the title. I also cannot recall it from mind. But when he explained to me the process that has to do with publishing a book, the author themselves has to find a publishing house. They have to pay all of the costs involved, including couriering, and then they also have to go and convince book outlet stores that sell books to say, okay, here's my book, please sell it.
And then it's very difficult.
It's very difficult,
you're a black person.
Especially if you're a black person and you're not well connected and you're not from an affluent background. So it's very difficult for them to get their work out there.
On the shelves.
And you understand. So I believe if the government could subsidize and say, no, we are willing to help upcoming authors to this extent. You understand? So they could get their work out there and books become readily available and made cheaper by government for people to attain. Because books, if you go to a library, your jaw would drop with high book. You understand? You
still have to read a book of 1818.
You understand?
But there are new authors
out there.
But they are here.
You see, these dudes are... But now you have to read stuff that's been written from 2010 into like a very long time ago, because young upcoming people cannot get their stuff on the shelves. It's very difficult to get it there. That's the first thing that we can do in order to foster reading culture. The second thing that I believe we can do is, as people, we have seen that the government is unreliable. You understand? So we cannot truly depend on it entirely. So we must, to a certain extent, get up and help ourselves. There's a theory in social work that also has to do with something with the citizens themselves have to get up and help themselves instead of always depending on the government. So if we as a people say no, we are going to build like a smaller nyana 4-room, a big enough room with 4-corner room, and then we say no, this is our library, and then as a community we purchase books nyana for you consult teachers, and we say no, teachers, please help us find reading material that could help our kids to articulate better, to reason better. You understand? That would stimulate our children's mind. And then teachers, they come up with these books, and then the communities come together and they say no, we'll purchase these books for our children from, like I said, upcoming authors such as these guys. And they also look into the community themselves and say, no, who is an upcoming author that we have here who might have a work that is published but is not necessarily doing well, and they could support that person by stimulating the children to read that person's work. You understand? Exactly.
No, thank you very much for coming, my brother.
No,
it was a great, and then I hope you are not going to go forever. You must come back again. We must deal with the issue of politics. We must go deep into politics, because I hear that you are politically sound.
I would like to learn more about politics. I've recently been politically conscientized. You know, I was recently politically reborn, and so I would really like to delve deeper into politics. What
can you say to the viewers of this Give It to Azania Kasi podcast? What can you say? Just message to give them, just because sometimes they don't listen to me, my man. I always preach to say, please subscribe, view this video, share the link, like the video, share with your family, girlfriends and boyfriends. Salute, bye bye. I know, thank you, my man.